from 5 out of 4 patterns, and welcome to day 2 of the Riptide Shorties Sew Along, where we are going to sew our main pieces together. Let's jump right in. Here we are, day 2, ready to get started. Today we're only working with the bottoms, so I'm going to put my gusset, my drawstring, and my waistband pieces to the side. Whether you're doing a reversible or non-reversible, this portion of the instructions are exactly the same. Okay, so first things first. Okay, before we go any further with day 2, I want to make sure that we look at this pattern piece. Now this is the main pattern piece for the shorts themselves, and what you will see is there's a center line right here, and it says here center line. Mark center line on pieces for placement of drawstring. Now if you're not putting drawstring in, this is a non-issue for you, but if you are, you need to put this line in there. I'm going to make one with a drawstring and without a drawstring. So make sure you mark that line. It says to sew the front and back rise seams right sides together on our fabric A pieces. So this is our fabric B, this is our fabric A. Now we're going to put them right sides together. All right, here is fabric A. We're going to do the same thing with fabric B. We're going to place it right sides together and we're going to stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and prep that. All right, that's for my non-reversible. I'm going to go ahead and prep the reversible ones as well. As you can see, I have used black thread in my serger here. I also have it in my sewing machine. Normally I would use white thread for this, but I wanted you to be able to see what I was doing a little more clearly. Okay, so we've got our fabric A, fabric B of our non-reversible, fabric, A, and fabric B of our reversible. You can absolutely 100% use a regular sewing machine to make this pattern. You just need to use a zigzag or stretch stitch for that. So now let's move on to step 2. Okay, so you're going to want to refer to your pattern pieces at this time. So you need to determine the front and the back. So this is the front crotch, this is the back crotch. So I'm going to flip this over so the right side is up. We're going to be working with the back crotch. Now you want to take a look at your gusset pattern piece. It tells you which is the front and which is the back. Otherwise you don't know which side to match to what. So this is, if I line this up here, because it was on the fold, remember, here's what we've got. The front kind of comes up at an angle and the back is just straight. So take a look at that. The front comes up at an angle here and the back is just straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the center of the back. So set that to the side and let's find the center of the back. Now another thing you could do is you could mark in some way with a pen or a piece of chalk or something, mark the back of this before you start sewing, so as you're cutting out your fabric. But I did not do that, so I suggest referring to your pattern piece. Okay, let's pin these together at the center and then we will match at the edges. And we're going to do this with all of the pieces. I'm going to do this on the other pieces as well for the reversible version, and then we're going to head over to our machine or serger. Using a stretch stitch, zigzag, or a serger, we're going to stitch across here. Now we're on to step 3. Now it says steps A and B of step 3 can be combined together or done separately as written. So what you're going to do is you're going to place one pair of bottoms inside the other pair. All right, so they're going to be right sides together. So I'll turn one pair, one right side out and one wrong side out, and put the right side out one inside the wrong side out one, so they're right sides together. And I just pin a little bit around the top just because they're kind of slippery and they want to move. So right sides together, we're matching up those front and back seams and just kind of getting them all together where they need to be. All right, so this would be step A. Now I like to nest my seams when I have a lining, so that means one seam allowance will go one direction and the other seam allowance will go the other direction. You don't have to use a ton of clips. Oh, here's the other crotch seam. We're going to nest those as well. Just want it all to stay together. The more prep you do, the better off you will be. Now, what I can do now is I can go to my sewing machine and I can baste these together, okay? Both the lining or the fabric A and the fabric B around, whoops, around the bottom here. So I would come up, start here, come up from here and around and all the way around the front and then back around this way, and baste them together. And then go back and we can use clear elastic to attach around here. So let's talk about this clear elastic situation. It says in step B, clear elastic is attached to the full length of the leg seam in step A. So we starts here, it goes all the way around the front, and it stops, and then all the way around here and stops. Okay, so you don't put elastic in the front crotch seam here. All right, so let's look at the front crotch seam. So the crotch seam will not have clear elastic. All right, so you'll start or end here, come around here, come around here. No clear elastic here. Okay, the clear elastic is going to help stabilize everything. It's going to keep it all from rolling. We're going to pre-stretch our elastic a few times, then we're going to lay the elastic on the seam allowance. If you're making the non-reversible, which I am here, I'm going to place the elastic on the main side of the fabric, which is here. Okay. Now, if you want to do this in 2 steps, what you want to do right now that you got all clipped together, is baste the legs here, just like I showed you, baste those together, the main, the fabric A, and the fabric B. So go do that now. I'm combining these into 1 step because that's just easier for me. We're not really going to stretch much of the clear elastic. We're going to just slightly stretch it, so almost no stretching of it at all. You're going to sew it on with a zigzag or a serger. Now let's talk a little bit more about the stretching. So if you stretch too much, all of this is going to all want to gather up and bunch up. That is not what you want. So you're literally, if you're stretching at all, it's just barely. All right, what we're not going to do is we're not going to measure out a specific piece of clear elastic. We're going to take this entire bag of clear elastic and we are going to feed it through without having measured it, and then we'll cut off the excess at the end. So I'm going to go to my serger so that you can see exactly how it's done. All right, I've tossed my bag of elastic on the floor between my legs so I can just pull it up as I need it. I've got some Wash Away Wonder tape here, and I'm going to take a little piece of that and I'm going to put it right here where I'm getting ready to start. Okay, now I'm going to take the end of my elastic and I'm going to place it on there. I'm going to have a bit of an overlap just for funsies. Now you can disengage your knife here because you don't need to be cutting anything off. You're just attaching the elastic to the fabric and kind of getting the lining and the mane together. All right, so take your time, keep your elastic lined up here. Remember, if you're pulling on your elastic, you're just barely pulling. You do not want to cause any type of gather. Now, once you finish your muslin, if you try this on after you finish the whole thing, and you find that the legs are too loose, like they're not fitted to your leg, then it's likely you need to pull your clear elastic a little bit tighter. You may be tempted to ask if clear elastic is a required necessity, and it is. Don't substitute another type of elastic. It really needs to be clear elastic. Okay, so there's one side, and I'm going to cut off all the excess on both ends. Now we're going to move to the other side. Now there are other tips and tricks on how to do attaching clear elastic to a seam allowance like this. This is the way I do it on my machine. Some machines have like a little space here that you can feed the elastic through and it fits perfectly and you don't have to do it this way. I don't have that, and this is just the way I prefer to do it anyway. It's the way I like it. Oopsies. Okay, now I'm going to cut off the excess. Now I'm going to repeat this on the other pair that is reversible. And I'll be right back. Okay, so here we are. We've got our elastic attached to both of these, and we are finished with day 2. Well, now that we've got day 1 and day 2 under our belt, we can get ready for day 3. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe and turn the notifications on below so that you can be notified when day 3 is ready tomorrow. I'll see you then.